Wrasslin, and today we're going to be going over this crazy week in wrestling we had. Lots of shows, lots of good stuff going on, a little bit of bad stuff, but you know, that's comes with the territory. So without further ado, this is the wrap up for this week in wrestling. So we'll go ahead and start off with Wrestle Kingdom that took place over 2 nights on January 4th and January 5th. About 6 matches per night on the card. And so the first night we did see a battle royale, the Rambo Battle Royale to determine the king of pro wrestling. So we had 21 competitors, I believe, and the final 4 competitors were Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, Bushi, and Toriano, who by process of elimination, got into the final 4. There were 4 men in the ring as he was entering. 1 got thrown out. So before he even made it to the ring, he was the 4th member of that. So they would go on to fight the next night in a fatal 4-way for the King of Pro Wrestling championship, I guess. So that was being night 2. We did see Hiromu Takahashi defeat El Phantasmo for a chance at the IWGP Junior Heavyweight on night 2. Hiromu was amazing, but we'll get more into that later. The Gorillas of Destiny regained the Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships from Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. And they became, I think, tied for the most tag team championships in New Japan history, I believe with their 7th. So that happened there. We saw Jon Moxley appear in a taped promo saying that whoever wins the following match, which would be determine who would be the #1 contender for the United States Championship that Jon Moxley holds, came on and said he'll be ready to kick anybody's ass. So the match was between Kenta and Kojima, and Kenta went on to win and retain the briefcase or the contract. I guess he did have it, so he will be taking on Jon Moxley at some point for the IWGP United States Championship. Then we did see Tanahashi, the man Tanahashi, take on the Great Khan, in which Tanahashi did win, and it was a good match. It was cool. A lot of people were down on Great Khan leading into it, but I think it went over well, and Tanahashi did his thing. Of course, he's the man at Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome. Then we did see probably my favorite match of night 1, which was Okada versus Will Ospreay in just a singles match, and Okada did defeat Ospreay, so he did go on to make that the 2nd loss for the Empire, as the Great Khan lost before that. So the Empire was 0-2 on night 1, and of course Okada is, he's the man, and he looked great. It was a great match between 2 fantastic wrestlers. I'd recommend checking that one out. If you're going to check out just one from night 1, that would definitely be the one. And then, of course, the main event, we saw Kota Ibushi take on Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP Intercontinental Championship that he won from Evil back in August. So Kota Ibushi won, and he got his crowning moment on night 1, and Naito crowned him, and of course, he has to face Jay White, who came out and told Ibushi to enjoy his 1 night of fame, his 1 night of being champion, his 1 night of glory, because he's going to lose it the next night. So anyways, that was night 1. Night 2 opened with the fatal 4-way between Yano, Bushi, Bad Luck Fale, and Chase Owens. And Yano ended up winning when Fale and Owens, who were working together for the entirety of the match, bumped heads, and Fale didn't want to let Owens get the pin, so he stopped him, and then some shenanigans happened. And anyways, Yano ended up winning, so he's your king of pro wrestling. Match 2 that night was the Junior Tag Team Championships, which was El Desperado and Kanemaru against Taguchi and Master Wato, and the champs retained from Suzuki Gun. And yeah, I mean, it was a good match, but there's a big difference, I think, between the junior tags and the heavyweight tags. I think the Gorillas of Destiny match with Zack Sabre and Taichi was just way better. But yeah, it was a good match, and the champs retained. Then we had my favorite match of the entire weekend, maybe entire week, but definitely of the Wrestle Kingdom, was the Never Openweight Championship between Shingo Takagi and Jeff Cobb, and they just beat the absolute crap out of each other. 2 big guys just going at it. Lots of fun stuff to watch. If you're going to pick one match from the whole weekend to watch, I'd recommend that one. It was very, hard style, strong style. They just beat the crap out of each other. And but Shingo did retain, which surprised me, and also which made the Empire 0-3 for the weekend. or for the event, and with Jeff Cobb losing. So, but he looked good. He lost, but he did look really good in the loss. But yeah, great match. Then we had match 4 that night was Evil versus Sonata, which of course has a lot of history behind it. They were great tag team partners together. So Sonata ended up winning. There was a lot of shenanigans going on with Togo in there, and despite all the interference, Sonata ended up pulling it out and basically became the #1 contender, which played into later on in the night. And then we did get the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship with the champ Taiji Ishimori defending against Hiromu Takahashi, who won night 1 to be the #1 contender. And Hiromu won, thank goodness. He's probably my favorite wrestler in New Japan, if not in the world right now. I just love his charisma, the way he carries himself, his facials, the way he wrestles, even his freaking crazy flamboyant rainbow ring gear and stuff. He's just awesome. I think he's great, and I'm hoping soon enough he will be in the heavyweight championship picture, because he's so good. He's badass. And then finally we had the main event, which was Kota Ibushi versus Jay White for the double championships, IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental. And Kota Ibushi ended up winning this after about 50 minutes. They went a long time. This match was pretty crazy. Pretty good too, by the way. But they did go a long time. It didn't feel that long until maybe the end. They had like 2 closing sequences that seemed like to maybe drag out a little bit. But at the end, Kota Ibushi won. It was a great long-term story there. He couldn't get over beating Jay White. He lost both matches last year in the Tokyo Dome for his chance at the titles, and yeah, he finally came through this year and he won both. And then Sonata did come out and challenge him to a match at some point. So that was Wrestle Kingdom on Monday and Tuesday night. And then we had on Wednesday we had 2 big shows as well. NXT had New Year's Evil. And AEW had New Year's Smash, and that's a 2-parter. It was supposed to be night 2 this week, but they moved it due to the very tragic passing of Brody Lee. So they moved that show back. So they'll have night 1. They had night 1 last night, and then they'll have night 2 next Wednesday. So, but we'll start with NXT. We saw Karrion Kross defeat Damian Priest. Cool. There's rumors that Priest is going up to the main roster or to SmackDown, whatever, one of the shows. Cool. He'll be great on the main roster as long as they use him right. Then we saw the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match defended. It was Santos Escobar, the champ, against Grand Metalik, which Grand Metalik didn't really have a chance considering everything, but it was a fun match. Very lucha, very, high flying and all that. Metalik looked really good, but yes, Santos Escobar did end up winning. And then we saw Xia Li come down and she squashed some jobber, and there was some creepy person in a mask sitting on a throne at the top of the ramp watching her the whole time, and that was kind of weird. But yes, she looks awesome. I love the new repackaged version of Xia Li, and she looks unstoppable right now, so hopefully she'll get a chance at a title at some point soon. And then they announced that Thatcher was injured. He couldn't compete against Ciampa as he was supposed to, but they will compete in the future, of course. And then Bronson Reed did put the locker room on notice that he's going to 2021 is going to be his year, so good for him. And then he did put his money on Rhea Ripley for the following match, which was the last woman standing match between Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley. And this was pretty awesome. This match was very intense. It had tables, it had ladders, it had chairs, it had stairs, it had kendo sticks, it had ring bells, ring mallets. At one point, Rhea Ripley handcuffed Gonzalez to the fence that surrounds the Capitol Wrestling Center. It's like a cage where the fans are. Handcuffed her to it. She just ripped part of the chain link fence off and was just like dragging it around on her arm. She ended up beating up Ripley with it. It was pretty awesome. Of course, there was a table spot and they did the whole burial. Rhea got buried under all the debris from the table to try to keep her down for the last man standing. She gets up. They fight their way to the back. Rhea Ripley spears Gonzalez through a glass door, which was pretty awesome. She jumped off. She put her on a table as well as like a catering table and jumped off like some lockers that were in the back. Freaking went through there. That was awesome. And then Dakota Kai tries helping out her friend Gonzalez and ends up getting her butt kicked, and she gets stuffed into one of the lockers like she's a freshman in the senior locker room. So she was stuck in there. That's how Rhea dealt with her. But then finally at the end, Gonzalez ended up powerbombing Rhea Ripley through the stage to win the match and get the 10 count. She got up before the 10 count at like at 8, and Rhea did not get up, of course. So that was an awesome match. I definitely recommend watching that one if you get a chance. Raquel looked like $1 million. Rhea Ripley went out on her back. She's supposed to go up to SmackDown too, so we'll see what happens there. Mr. Regal, William Regal, announced that the first ever Women's Dusty Classic will start next week. And as well, I believe the men's starts next week as well, as this segues into the next segment. The Way of Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory announced that they will be in the Dusty Classic, so they will be competing, which that's fine. That should be good. And they had they were having a segment of celebrating Gargano's defense of the North American Championship, breaking the curse, they called it, and they made him a plaque and all this stuff, which was pretty funny. Usually they're annoying, but that was pretty funny to me. And then Kushida and Shotzi come down, interrupt, and there's an impromptu tag match put on by the host, who was Dexter Lumis. He came out with his creepy gloves and stuff and just rang the bell, and they had a match. So I guess he was playing general manager too. I don't know. But they had a match. It was quick. Kushida and Shotzi won. Of course, Shotzi's on the rise. She's been looking great lately. And Kushida hopefully will get a North American title shot soon. And then there was an announcement that the next takeover will take place on Valentine's Day, February the 14th. So that's coming up. Not soon, but fairly soon. And then we had the main event, Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly. And Finn Balor ended up winning by submission to retain the NXT Championship. But it was a fantastic match. Of course, it's their second encounter. The first one ended with a broken jaw for Finn Balor that put him out for a while. So in this match, the story was Kyle O'Reilly got his jaw busted, and he was nursing the jaw the whole match. And Finn Balor had an injured arm, I think his left arm. And of course, they kept going at that. Lots of chemistry. Their transitions are great. There was a spot where, towards the end, where O'Reilly was trying to get the arm bar on Finn. He couldn't get it. He was bashing his arm, and then he just like transition flipped over to the other side and got the other arm, which was great. But yes, very hard hitting, lots of action, and I believe these two aren't done. I hope not anyways. I'd be happy with a third match because they just have fantastic matches all the time. So NXT New Year's Evil was a great night as well. So then, of course, we had New Year's Smash Night 1 for AEW, and the first match of that card, we did see the Bucks and SCU, Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels, take on the Acclaimed and Hybrid 2. Solid tag team match. You know, AEW is very good at these. They but the story of the match was at the end. So, you know, they got the win. CD got the win by helping with not the Meltzer driver, but they did the, what was it? He does the flip and they do the taker thing, like the pile driver. But anyways, I forget what the move's called. But they got the pin, they win. So the Bucks, they got, SCU challenged the Bucks to a title match, and Kazarian told them that if they lose, the next match they lose, however, will be their last as a tag team together. So looks like the Bucks might be retiring SCU. We shall see. But yeah, I don't see them losing the tag titles, especially how the night ended. So we'll see what happens there. And then we had Moxley Moxley did come back because he hadn't been on TV for AEW since he lost the title in December, I think December 2nd or whatever it was. But Moxley returned and he vowed to make Omega's life a living hell. Cut a great promo, but he's going to give Omega a hard time, and that did play out later as well. And then we had a big old beefy SOBs match, as Sean Ross Sapp would say. Wardlow took on Hager, and it was basically them just blowing off steam. They're stablemates now. They're all part of the Inner Circle, but they just needed to get at each other's throats for staring at each other over the past few weeks, I guess. But yeah, Wardlow won by pinfall after he hit the F10 on Hager. So big boy match. It was very nice. And then we had, Darby Allin and Brian Cage have a weigh-in, which I don't know they had a weigh-in just to prove, I guess, factually that Brian Cage is heavier than Darby Allin. But, you know, by looking at him, it's obvious. So they had that. Then Darby Allin wanted to fight then and there. Team Taz wanted to jump him, of course, and then Sting showed up to scare them away. And I'm glad Sting's taking up Darby Allin under his wing. I just don't understand the connection right now. Hopefully we get that soon instead of Sting just kind of appearing every now and then and not really doing anything. He just like scares people away and then that's it. So I like that Sting's there, but I hope we get something out of him soon other than just scary people. Then we did have the Big Show, Go Big Show advertisement that had Matt Sydal take on Cody, and Cody was accompanied by Snoop Dogg, who's of course his panel mate on the show, and yeah, he took the place of Arn Anderson today. So the match was good. A couple funky spots, but they worked through it pretty good. Sydal looked great. It was good to see him on there. But the big part of this match, right, was there was a point in the match where Cody went to punch Sydal. He moved out of the way and he hit Serpentico in the face. And of course, him and Luther were upset. So after the match, Cody won. And then after the match, they get jumped. Serpentico and Luther come in to jump Cody, and they end up beating up Sydal as well. And Snoop's like, "What's going on?" And then they get they end up getting control. They beat up the two. Serpentico takes a splash from Snoop Dogg off the top. I don't know if it was supposed to be a frog splash or what, but Snoop kind of like, I don't know, landed on his feet and then like rolled over him and then pinned him, and they rang the bell, which is, I mean, there was no match happening, but that's cool, whatever. So that was their celebrity spot with Snoop Dogg. So cool, good job. And then we had Sheeta take on Abaddon. Abaddon was the #1 contender for the women's championship, and the match unfortunately wasn't great. It was cool. It was kind of weird. Abaddon, you know, has a very weird style where she bites. I don't know how that's legal. In a wrestling match, I think it's a part of the rules, but she bites people all the time. They did a spot under the ring. They both went under the ring, and she bit Sheeta's neck, and she was bleeding everywhere, and blah, blah. And then they went to a commercial, which took up most of the match, and then they came back, and it kind of just ended abruptly with a running knee that Sheeta hit, and she pinned Abaddon. So Abaddon's build was great. Unfortunately, the match wasn't that good. Hopefully she gets another shot at a pay-per-view maybe, but we'll see what goes on there. And then finally, we had another great match, of course, Kenny Omega and Phoenix for the AEW Championship. You know, they're both great wrestlers. It's hard to stress that enough. It's hard to cover that match spot for spot either, but I would just suggest watching that one. They do a lot of great stuff there, and it went about 20 minutes or so, but it was good, very good. Of course, Kenny Omega won. He retained, and then in the aftermath, he was going to keep his attack going on Phoenix, and then Moxley came with a barbed wire bat, started beating up Kenny, and then he was getting ready to set him up for a big home run hit, and then out of nowhere, the Good Brothers show up. Gallows and Anderson, who are the Impact Tag Team Champions, who of course have history with Kenny Omega, being in the Bullet Club together back in New Japan and whatnot. So yeah, they came in, they beat the hell out of Mox. They were beating up Phoenix as well, and then some people from the ring started coming in trying to help them out, and then it just turned into chaos. Then the Bucks come out and they're trying to restore order and get everything under control, and then Matt Jackson super kicks, I think it was Griff Garrison who was trying to help everyone, and then Kenny, Gallows, Anderson put up the 2-sweet, and then the Bucks join them. So looks like we're reuniting the Bullet Club in AEW. It was a nice angle. It was a very nice ending, and now we have all champions in a heel stable, which should be fantastic. We'll see where it goes. Oh, and by the way, on Monday Night Raw, Drew McIntyre defended his championship and beat Keith Lee in a good main event, very good main event. And then he was challenged by Goldberg at the end for a title match at Royal Rumble, which, you know, whatever. That's the highlight of Raw. The rest of the show is kind of weird. It's just a bunch of legends, and yeah, nobody cares. But the rest of the wrestling this week was very good, and of course, this is just a full breakdown of what happened this week. I didn't do SmackDown, but if this goes over well and people like it, I'll probably do it weekly and have the shows starting from Friday to Wednesday, and then I'll put a review out on Thursday or like a recap. So thank you all for checking it out. By the way, check me out if you like this video. Check me out, of course, all my other videos on YouTube. You can also check me out on Facebook Gaming. Matty B Gaming is the name there. I'm on Twitch as well. Matty B Gaming as well on Twitch. You can check out, I haven't made any merch yet, but I do have my Matty B Wrasslin NWO hoodie here right now that was made for me by a friend. And I'm thinking about taking that design and doing shirts and other things. So let me know what you think if you'd be interested. Again, I appreciate you checking it out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.